Now I want to take a moment to welcome Rachael McGinnis Millsap to the podium. Rachael is the director of the Farm to School Academy at KC Healthy Kids. She works with local growers, distributors, and school districts to make fresh, locally grown foods more available to students. She also builds crucial partnerships and provides training to empower districts to overcome barriers to serving local food. So join me in welcoming Rachael. Thank you.
Okay, so 15 minutes. I will be talking fast through this, and I feel like I always get stuck with this afternoon time. Maybe it's because all of the cute pictures of kids eating vegetables we're about to see wake us up. So again, I'm Rachael Millsap. I work with KC Healthy Kids and have done so for 3 years. Before that, I was with MU Extension and worked with kids with school gardening for almost 10. So there seems to be a trend in my life of really enjoying working with kiddos. And in the last 3 years, we've been able to expand that, and what was the greatest fit with this system, the socio-ecological system, was in farm to school, it touches almost everything. So I want to start by just defining how we see farm to school with KC Healthy Kids. And that is just overall enriching the connection that community schools have with fresh, healthy food and local producers by changing purchasing and education practices at schools in early child care and K through 12. So it's quite a big group. How we align with different partners in different areas, I'll talk about more throughout the presentation. But a lot of it is about reshaping the plate, not only at the school, which most of the students that we work with are seeing almost every meal at the school. It's also at home. And so we have a small amount of resources that go out into the community to help, but most of the resources we provide is within the school system. So almost every coalition or resource or tool that we create or help to share the word about hits multiple parts in that system. So it's 2 to 3. It's really hard to say we do this activity and it aligns with the individual. It's usually 2 to 3 touches throughout that system. And that has really come apart because with farm to school, there needs to be multiple advocates within those systems that help make that work. So reshaping the plate is the priority. In a healthy food system, families don't have to look very far to find affordable food. Sometimes it's right there. What we want is that to be an easy choice, whether it's on the school plate, whether it's somewhere they can go get it in the community. Beth did a great job outlining the sales tax and how policy kind of over umbrellas everything with farm to school, with the farm bill and the sales tax. And we want to bring that down into the school and help these families find resources to overcome those barriers. Reshaping the schools is important. There is so many school gardens out there, and we have lots of partners that help make that a possibility. There's KCCG is in the house, and they have been doing a bunch of work in the last 15 years getting gardens at schools. And so if there's ever a garden that doesn't have a school garden, that's almost the first thing that we do is say, hey, get that in the school. There's so many resources here in Kansas City that it's really easy to hit that organizational system. And if it's not our resources that they're using, if something's in the way with using what we are out there implementing, we want it to be done some way, somehow. So I'm going to show this video with a new partnership that has come in the last couple years. Splitlog Farm is a urban farm in KCK, and we partnered with them. Actually, this video was the first opportunity we had to partner with them. And we had communications funds, and we wanted to spotlight different farms and urban gardens that were needed some help amplifying in the community. And so this was about 3 years ago. And since then, we've developed a much stronger relationship that I will. Initially, we got together just to say, hey, how can we get more of your produce into the schools? You're right across the street from a school. Let's start there. They had some barriers in working with grade levels outside of pre-K. The only class that could come over and had the time to get engaged with the farm was a early childhood education class that came out. And the other teachers just didn't have the time, or there were barriers that were in the way. So since then, we've not only helped them amplify through this video and use this in a lot of our Tasting Local opportunities, but we are now operating the farm because of some staff turnover. And if we get the video going, you'll see the old community development director working. And there's just been some progress made. So there's similar barriers that exist. Community Housing Wyandotte County works to stabilize and beautify neighborhoods and mobilize the communities around certain things. And there we go, we're gonna get it. So you'll see in this video that there's houses that were vacant and boarded up, but since then, they've now been worked on for the past couple years and have been able to beautify the neighborhood. We've added an orchard. They've, through grant funding, have been able to add a whole nother, purchased a vacant lot and added the orchard. All right, here we go.
I think kids are good farmers because of their interest in just new things. They like to experiment, they like to have fun, and they like the tactile feel of it, of the dirt and the straw and all those types of things. They'll sit down and just look at the sky, take notice of the birds and the butterflies, and particularly the bees. They love the bees. My name is Steve Curtis, and I manage Split Log Farm here in Kansas City, Kansas. We have a lot of vacant properties here in Wyandotte County. People oftentimes don't know each other, and they don't always get out to meet each other. So they need a common cause. They need a gathering place that's low risk, but everybody is welcome. And that gets them into these areas where they can bring their kids, they can start to talk to one another, and start to make their communities better. It takes some really innovative thinking about how you use this property. 2 years ago, as an engagement tool for that community, we put in an urban farm. And we worked with young kids in the neighborhood to plant the farm, put produce in. The kids that live around the farm go to the Emmy Pearson grade school. It's part of the old Bethany neighborhood in Kansas City, Kansas. They were very curious about what we were doing when we cleared out the brush and took things away. The neighbors became very curious as well. What are you doing here? I wanted to get some older kids in there. I thought that's what I would probably need. And an opportunity just came up one day. Just somebody asked me in the hallway, well, what about the preschoolers? And I said, yeah, they would be great. Bring them over. And they'll plant most of our farm for us. Last year, they planted about 60% of Split Log Farm. We grow bok choy. We grow organic potatoes, heirloom tomatoes, beets, kale, onions and garlic and lettuce. We're right next to the school, and hopefully in the near future, the kids are going to be growing produce for the school, and that makes a fantastic connection. At Split Log, whenever we harvest any produce, we generally put it in wheelbarrows and go up the street and knock on doors and give it away to people. The first year, the grant that we had required that we gave away 570 pounds of produce, and we were a little bit over that. We were about 600 pounds. But we greatly enhanced the soil since then and maybe some of our techniques. And last year, we gave away over 1,600 pounds of produce. We found at the end of the summer, first part of the school year, we still had a lot of tomatoes and things like that, that on early close day, the parents would show up around 1:30 or so, and we'd just go out in front of the farm and give it away to people as they went to get the kids. I think Split Log's special to the kids because it's different. So having this little farm in the block that they live on, growing produce, seeing things come out of the ground, things that they can eat, having fruit grow on trees, I think that's pretty special to them. It's a place where they're always welcome, so it gives them a place they can hang out and be around other people that care about them and care about the neighborhood.
Thank you. So that video is important. It shows everywhere we're touching on that system. Now, that school is lucky. They have a whole urban farm right next to them. But since this video, they've grown every season and put it into that school. And then because of the partnership that we have, they've gotten funds. And now we're going to work in 3 schools and are pumping out more of that food into the community. This is one of those special projects that really outlines in the specific neighborhoods with Farm to School Academy how our partnerships work. Reshaping policies, I'll go through pretty quick because Beth did a great job outlining how that impacts farmers and producers and growers. But we work more procedurally within the school districts and local ones. So working with local food policy councils, working with school districts to outline what their district policies are, and a lot of it is just education and awareness on what policies actually exist. The great example I have for this is we developed a farm to school food service coalition where we pulled in food service directors and talked through what barriers they had. After working in 10 years with classrooms and trying to get produce from the garden to the school cafeteria or even just into the kids' mouths from the garden, there seemed to be a lot of confusion about, is it okay to pull food from the garden and serve it in the cafeteria? And a lot of the barriers we got to, there was no reason why they were saying yes or no. They just were going from their gut and saying, no, we can't have that. It's a policy. Well, is it really? Let's figure it out. So that was one of the things we developed a tool called the Garden to Cafeteria Safe Sourcing Protocol that in essence worked with health departments on both sides of the state line and food service directors and said, hey, if you have this harvest receipt that shows you went through these safe practices, will you serve this in your lunchroom? They all said, yes, of course, that's all that we need. So now we've helped them eliminate that barrier and helped to create some district policies. Procurement is another one where we help spread education and awareness. There's policies that impact that have to do with good agricultural practices, and we just want to shed some light on those and show food service directors that here's what's working in other districts. We had a USDA grant 2 or 3 years ago, or one or 2 years ago, that was about 18 months that allowed us to work with 20 school districts. So that was very organizational driven. We were figuring out what was working, what wasn't, and sharing those success stories in the other districts. A lot of it is just getting folks in the same room that have gotten through different barriers and making it sound easy and saying, oh, they did this, so why can't you do that? So that's something that's really important, is just sharing that momentum and keeping people in the loop of how did we get past this? How did we get past it together? What allowed you to be able to get more food into the lunchroom that was local? School gardening is something that really impacts the interpersonal and individual, as well as classroom level and organizational. That is something that we have a Grow a Garden Classroom Toolkit. We try to make it easier for schools to teach and align their standards with the garden and to go outside and get that healthy food and get some activity. And then education at the school level with food service staff was really important. They were kind of lost in the mix there. That district stuff was happening and people were aware of farm to school. School level with the teachers and the classrooms and the school gardens were going great. And then there was this kind of missing link with preparing the local food that was coming in. And because of the way that school lunchrooms and school kitchens have kind of been pulled back from scratch cooking, there was going in and doing tasting local events and trying to get the school food service engaged and the kids and families excited about tasting local food and them not having knives or peelers or things like that. So it was a real eye-opener when we first started to figure out what do they need to even be able to do that and what kind of training can we do. So there's an example of the Grow a Garden Classroom. That's something that was done actually before I was on board with Case Healthy Kids between Kansas City Community Gardens. Just an easy tool for kids to use and teachers to use. The Local Food Buyer Summit is something that you may or may not have heard about that we try to do twice a year with multiple partners and connect growers with buyers and get them in the same room. So create that relationship between producers, growers, and food service directors or other organizations that want to buy local food. Garden to Cafeteria Safe Sourcing Protocol, that's the preschoolers at Split Log Farm washing, I think it was over 60 pounds of lettuce that went into the cafeteria that day. And they did it all in an hour. And it was about the cutest little solution to getting the local food to the school because they just had to walk right across the street and get that food in there. Tasting local events I mentioned, that's something that we do at the school level where we bring the whole school into a 15-minute tasting where they vote if they like the recipe, they see a video like Split Log or one of the other virtual farm field trips that we have, and we try to give them resources to go find the local food or find their farmer in the community. So we try to, place the farmers markets on there that are close to them, especially the ones that are double up food box markets, so that they can extend that dollar and really justify using that education that we send them. And then something we've done the last 2 years and had about 7 districts involved in is our Food Service Leadership Academy. And that's a tool that we have that's about 10 hours of training that we bring in food service staff to help us with what are the barriers of you getting that local food into the lunchroom. If it's being purchased and it's in, how is it getting to the mouths of the kiddos and are they actually eating it? They're the front line. They're the ones that are talking with the kids every day. They're that face with the food. So that's really important that they have a knowledge of what local food is and what farm to school is. Almost every part of that socio-ecological system is something that any resource that's rolled out, we want it to be 2 to 3 touches on that graph. And there's community gardens, there's urban farms, there's something that we'll pass out, and I will physically pass this out to you. I'm not going to give you the option. So this is a one-pager that outlines a partnership with Split Log and Casey Healthy Kids, and we align with the school district to have their mobile meals dropped there. They had a task force where they were wondering where they wanted to get those mobile meals out into the community, and of course I was like, Split Log and farmers markets, go where the local food is. And so they come Monday through Friday, and then we have farm shares that we encourage the community to come up and take. So either they can come, take what we have harvested for them, and take that home to their families, or we try to say, if you see us out here, walk on up here and we'll get you something. We have designated days just because of a staffing situation where we have to say come on these two, but if there's somebody out there, we're giving out free food. So we're going to blow those numbers out of the water that Steve mentioned in that video. So that's 1,600 pounds. We have planted every single inch of that farm this year, and we've got a 2-year grant, and we're really working on getting as much food grown and spreading the awareness of what local food is so that we're not competing with the farmers in the area. We're trying to get them excited about where they can go get that food that tastes so great. So I think that's time. I'll pass this out as the other person is presenting, and thank you. We'll answer questions later.